We have an amazing panel here of industry leaders from pretty much all the different areas of the advertising ecosystem. We have Khara Hutchinson from Head of Programmatic Media at Bayer Healthcare. We have Shukmei Wong from the agency side. She's the SVP there. And then we have from the publisher side, we have Alan and Diana from head of ads. Alan is head of ad sales, sales at USA Today, and Diana is the SVP of ad sales and media partnerships. I hope got the titles right. Okay. All right. So let's start with a kind of a 50,000 feet view and talk about the industry from industry perspective, right? So I'll start with you, and then we can go around. So as an industry, do you think we are underestimating or overestimating the impact AI will have in the short term and long term, and why you think so?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think we're underestimating predictive AI. I don't think it gets a lot of airtime today, but there's a lot of work being done on the back end. And this is definitely an unpopular opinion hot take. I think we're overestimating generative AI.
Interesting. How about you, Shukmei?
I think in the long run, then we're underestimating the impact. Right now, we're overestimating ease of adoption. We think that we can just integrate AI right away and automate everything, but there's obviously operational and legal hurdles that we have to go through to make sure that we're doing so in a responsible and strategic way. But when you're pulling back and looking at the long term, then we're underestimating the impact because the scale of transformation is huge, because we're talking about changing our day-to-day operations and changing the way we reach and engage our consumers. So the changes we're seeing now, that's just the beginning.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think in the long term it's possible for us to overestimate the impact of AI. I do think that we are in a J curve, so it's a little bit noisy right now, and those investments that are being made, they may not have an immediate return that ultimately can maybe create a little bit of dissatisfaction in the marketplace when we want to see that immediacy. However, the J curve is going to continue to accelerate. I think this is the industrial revolution of our time, frankly, and it's going to change every workflow, every product, every consumer experience, and ultimately the winners are going to be those who stay invested.
And I agree with everything that's been said so far. I think that we're underestimating the impact. It's hard to predict how the changes that are being made today will evolve and create new opportunities for AI. So we're really in the early days, and how can anybody predict the future of anything, let alone a rapidly developing technology in a world where we already have so much incredible technology at our fingertips?
Great answers. So let's dig a little bit deeper into the specifics now. So when anyone here in this room talks about AI in media strategy, right, they usually talk about these 5 pillars, right? Could be more as well. One is that they talk about how is AI going to play in the search world, right? The role of AI in search, traditional search, AI-based search, retail search probably as well. B, they talk about the role in media execution, agentic, end-to-end media buying, planning. I'm sure all of you are familiar with that. C is the role of AI in connected insights, agentic insights, and things like that, right? And then D, obviously, D&E is, of course, the big one, the Gen AI, the creative variations, 1,000 variations of an ad, content personalization, and then, these personalization in itself, right, on the website, on the media itself, targeted to your audience, right? Again, depending on which pillar you're focusing on, could you just talk about one particular areas where you're focusing on, maybe a challenge, an opportunity? And usually, I'm sure legal and review is a challenge across many of us, so I'll probably skip that one. But other than that, do you want to start with that, Shukmei?
Sure. We're constantly in discussion with all of those pillars, so it's hard to pick just one, but I would say that we focus a lot on personalization, on automation, and agentic AI. Because with personalization, it's helping media agencies like us really refine our targeting, reach more high-value audience by delivering message that's contextually relevant and doing it in the right moment, and that's the important one. And then with automatic bidding optimizations, obviously AI can help us make a lot of micro decisions and changes that humans just can't do 24/7. So that's helping with efficiency. But of course, by giving up some manual levers, we're losing out on some control and transparency. And we have to make sure that the AI is actually, the algorithm's actually optimizing to the right business outcome and not just hitting a KPI that we assigned it to. And then with agentic AI, I love this one. It's going to help us with foresight that humans might miss. So it's helping us be more predictive. When we're planning, we're no longer just solely relying on historical data, which of course we're still doing, but now we're able to get, predict future patterns so that we can plan smarter. So lots of opportunities. I think one big hurdle is the balance, right? How to make sure that AI doesn't overtake human oversight, because we need that to be effective.
That makes sense. Let's go to the pop side, and then we'll come back to the brand side. So Alan or Diana, go ahead.
Yeah, I think all 5 of those are super relevant, and we are engaged in all 5 very deeply. I think the one that I've been looking at the most recently, though, is the evolving role of search. This spring, when it came out that 13% of search queries are now occurring on the US desktop with AI assist, I think that's a game changer. It's a changer from links to answers, and it's something that we have to be very close in following. There's also a big revenue travel that's occurring there as well, whereas it's 13% of search queries, but only 1% of search revenue. So that's going to be a tremendous opportunity for a lot of individuals in this room over the next 3 years, when that's supposed to grow by 25 billion. Now, if I reframe that, though, what I think is interesting about that is that it's taking 3 years for us to be able to close the gap on the behavior that's already happening right here and right now. There's opportunity in that gap as the budgets are shifting for us to really jump in and own that. That's why at USA Today, we launched things like Deeper Dive on our sites, which allow us to own the answers to the queries and the questions on our own platform, on our site, with sourced journalism. I think that's super important for publishers and for media. I think the publishers who own the answer box and are able to connect that to personalization, and then ultimately to agentic insights, those are going to be the publishers that ultimately win in the end, as the dollars and the budgets travel. And then beyond our walls, of course, we have to partner with companies like Perplexity, so that wherever the answers are at, as the searches move upstream, publishers have to own the answers downstream. And that's the role that we play in this space.
I'll also speak to the search aspect. So we also have a partnership in place with Perplexity AI. And the reason why it's important is who checked the weather today before you leave the house? Okay, most people in the room, some people were brave and didn't check. But weather is going to impact your comfort day to day. It's going to impact your health. So if you have allergies or suffer from sinus pressure, or you have arthritis, it's impactful for all of those things. On kind of the more severe end of health impact, if you have a respiratory illness or sensitivity, air quality impacts you. And then on the kind of further side of how weather impacts us, there's a real implication to your safety. So Accuweather prides ourselves on the superiority of our forecasts. With that, we're able to provide accurate and urgent severe weather alerts to people so that they can be aware ahead of time if there's a flash flood, a tornado, a hurricane. So with that, you don't want to have a boiled down, inaccurate forecast. And it's really important that we play nice with the AI platforms to make sure that that accurate information lands in people's hands so that they can make decisions from, am I dressed too warmly today, to should I get out of the house right now because there's danger coming our way. So it's really important, I think, for any platform that's providing important information for people making decisions, to find ways to work with the AI platforms to ensure that people continue to get accurate information so that they can make the best decisions for themselves and their families.
Great. Khara, on the brand side.
Yeah, I'd say we have robust work streams on all 5 of those, but and I think that's actually what makes the AI so hard right now, is because all those things need to be done at breakneck speed. Like, you're trying to keep up with the market, and that's a lot of time and bandwidth to address all 5 of those. I'm going to talk about the media execution side because I'm a panel of one here right now, and I sit on the activation side. And where we're really digging in is, everybody has a nose, everybody has a stomach, and how do we identify like top value for growth, top value for top line, bottom line revenue. We probably have a lot of the same challenges that you do at Kenvue, but it's not about replacing buying. That makes me like itchy when people say that, because I started out as a trader, and we have traders who work at Bear, and I have a lot of love for them. I don't think it's going to replace them completely. I think there'll be fewer of them, but what they do will be smarter and more impactful. And as I say to the team, like, no box checkers, right? You have to know what you're doing in there. Even though AI has carried a lot of lift, especially in programmatic and in social buying since its inception.
That makes sense. We see some of that as well. So let me just follow up on that, right? Many of you have said that. I think this applies, but let's start with you. How important is data when you're doing any of those agentic media execution, even a pilot, right?
Yeah.
You want to speak to that?
It's really important. You have your buying where you're just targeting like everyone adults 25 up, and we've all seen like LinkedIn feeds blow up with that data not being accurate. If you ever checked your own, that's not really where our focus is, though. It's about propensity and predicting someone making a step. And there are a couple of companies out there that are doing this really well. I've heard for a long time, like Meta does this really well. Meta has so much data on you, and they also have this part of they can see the creative response, right? And I think that's one of the things that makes them so powerful. Amazon also, all these signals that they're collecting off their properties, on their properties, pursuing that outside of the walled gardens and within the walled gardens is where we're really focusing. So data is key, but data for data's sake, that's how we got to, I don't even know how many data companies there are. Hundreds.
Probably more than that, yeah. Shukmei, do you want to talk about the same thing, from a data perspective, from an agency, like how important is your taxonomy for your client, and go ahead.
I mean, we live on data, so, and AI is just as good as the data that we're feeding it, right? So for us, we activate against all the channels from traditional linear to streaming to social, out of home. So how do we connect all of these signals together so that we can step back and look at performance as a whole? And as far as our clientele, I mean, our roster spans through different categories, so we have to look at so many different performance metrics. So again, how do we connect all of these dots? So that's the difficult part, right? We need to make sure that everything is connecting so that AI is actually efficient to able to analyze everything. Otherwise, it's pointless. And then I think one important element also is the human element. We need to able to define the data correctly and making sure that they're being applied in the right way, because AI can still misinterpret things, and then it's really up to people to decide what we want to do with it.
Do you guys want to speak to that from a publisher perspective about data importance?
Yeah, I can comment on it. I think that all those points are right and fair. It's been challenging for us to be able to connect the data to the user in a seamless and robust way with all the data providers hooked in. One thing that we've really found a lot of success in, and we're digging in a lot deeper, is being able to find off-platform real-time shopping patterns and then connect that to on-platform users so that we can be able to deliver the ad campaigns when those users are right in the market for the shopping. The reality is that there's a major latency in all of the data that we are getting fed, and we're trying to remove the latency and dispose of it. And if we can throw it in the trash can, I think we'll all be better off for it. That's what we're attempting to be able to do. We reach 1 in 2 Americans on USA Today. So we know that we have them. We have them when they are active and engaged in shopping. We just have to be able to grab those signals in the right way to remove the latency. Now, we've been able to do it in a few cases, which has given us a whole lot of robust insight into where we can go into the future. For example, in automotive, where we were able to really predict the shopping that was occurring in the market, off-platform, tie that back to on-platform, we were able to increase results by 5x. It's huge. It's a game changer. But latency's the enemy, and we're really trying to move away from it.
Got it. Do you want to add anything?
I would just say that data is the foundation of our business. So we are a meteorology company at our heart. And with that, we have a really strong backbone in data science. So AI is allowing us to ingest even more data sources that can come to life in things like more customized and accurate lifestyle indices, health indices. So for us, it's really exciting. We already have an excellent framework in place by nature of what our core business is.
Great. So we just covered all the pillars or potential pillars of AI use cases right now, but maybe we'll now kind of go up a level again back. And let's start with you, Khara. In terms of CPG and healthcare, right? Hopefully you can share, like, what are like one of the bigger use cases? I know you mentioned about in terms of media execution, but what are the use cases you are really seeing, you're excited about, something that you were surprised with Gen AI and AI maybe from your perspective?
I think I probably have two, and I'm going to give an honorable mention, but quickly rising in the ranks to the propensity and predictive that I probably say too much. I think if I had $1 for every time, I am really excited about that. But it's the advances in measurement that are the game changer for us. A year ago, I have an analytics team that I'm pretty tight with. They're my besties. They answer a lot of questions for me. A year ago, I would ask for a certain cut or a certain way of looking at data, and the answers were, no, maybe. And today, like, we're getting so much more granular measurement, and it's just getting better and better. So it's going to be measurement for me.
Great. So Shukmei, like, I'll change the question a little bit for you because you were kind of sitting in the middle, right, between publishers and brands. So what has the value proposition in terms of AI been to your clients? Are you guys, if you can feel comfortable sharing, is it building proprietary tools that can work across clients? Is it specific clients? Is clients saying 50-50? Like, how are you guys, working on the, AI value proposition to clients?
Well, I mean, I think it starts first within. We're basically automating all the heavy lifting, from reporting to optimization, so that it frees our team to shift their gears from just execution to strategy. So now, instead of having so many team members sitting there all day plugging in numbers, we're freeing them and giving them more space to think bigger and think more creatively, so that we're driving smarter outcomes for all of our clients. And we're also building proprietary AI platforms, who isn't, that is inclusive of a prompt-based planning tool. And we're also doing a scoring model to help us pre-qualify media. So what that means is AI is going to help us predict if certain media is going to work or not, based on current conditions and historical, et cetera, and before we even place $1 against it. So that's huge. And then, of course, with agentic AI, I mean, it's going to help us be more predictive and help us plan smarter. So all of these are things that, is going to help us just be smarter, more predictive, and more adaptive for our clients.
All right. And then on the publisher side, and maybe I'll start with you, Diana, like, one of your role is media partnerships, right? So as you're thinking of partnerships from that perspective, as well as from ad sales, and applies to you as well, Alan, like, is AI helping you change the ad products in terms of sales and the customized products you can build for your brands and agencies? Like, how are you guys, using AI to also change the monetization?
Yeah, so I would say it's two-part for us. So the first is from a tech platform and partner standpoint. There's obviously a lot of change. That's why we're all here right now. With that, we have to be on top of updates to DSPs, SSPs, creative platforms, to make sure that we understand how their decisioning is changing with new AI processes, data points. So an example of this would be Accuweather has always really paid close attention to making sure the user experience with our app is perfect. We just released a new version of the app, so you guys can go check that out. But also that the ad experience is really as pristine as it can be. So we've always paid attention to things like ad refresh. We have zero attention engagement of our ads. Also ad to content ratio. But those factors are more important than ever as they are being crawled by the AI platforms and AI decisioning tools. So we're making sure that as the technology evolves, we are paying close attention to what AI is reading about our properties so that we can continue to position ourselves as a premium top-tier supply partner. So that's one piece of it, and then I'll pass it to you, Alan. The other piece is, I already talked about lifestyle and health indices. So if you go into our app, you'll see in the Today screen, there is like a 10-day read on, it could be pollen count, it could be other medical or health concerns, it could be hiking index or beach index. And with AI, we're now able to ingest even more data points more quickly to understand what does drive a runner to go outside. And we could do things like, and this is hypothetical right now, connect health and running app activity, bring correlation to the weather outside and say, yes, this is an ideal condition for weather or for running, whereas previously we would say, oh, it's low humidity, it's a nice pleasant temperature, but now we can be even more data driven in how we bring some of these lifestyle indices to life.
That's great, and I was going to quickly say that's probably important for you too, right? From a Bayer perspective, to know all these weather attributes and all these things.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Alan, why don't you talk about your USA Today sales potential, monetization plans with AI? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very similar. I mean, that's data drives every decision. And really, if you think about where AI plays in the process for USA Today, if I just take a step back, it's all about what you can create, decide, prove, learn, and repeat the entire cycle. And it's really a flywheel that the more we spin it, the more we can win. So if you kind of go from, we have the full circle as a publisher, from creating content, which we're not all about creating synthetic content. Journalists are at the center of that, and our journalists are driving every aspect of content creation. But we also, with that, we launch things like Key Points, which is an AI assist that allows those key points to be on tens of thousands of stories, which then get picked up by the user, and we're seeing huge increases in engagement because of that. Same thing that when we look at how we prove it, the personalization when you talk about the weather, it's personalization for us is our homepage for you experience. So essentially, we know what you're reading, we can predict what else you want to read, and then we use predictive AI to go feed you the next thing, deeper engagement, more page time, more longer session views, which then helps us prove out the model with attribution. So kind of closing the loop. Ultimately, I kind of gave you the 5x scenario. We're trying to get latency out of the picture, but ultimately, it's all about how do we use the insights in AI. In our platform, our ad stack is built on a strong AI tech that allows us to essentially be able to real-time move the budgets around to the performance and to the campaigns that are performing the best in real time. And that's where we're seeing the best results on our network.
And before we get to our last couple of questions, that maybe we can start with you, Khara, like on the Bayer side, right? Like how important is the cloud infrastructure, the ad technology partners? Like I know we talk about media execution and of course SSPs and DSPs if you want to touch those as well, but how important is cloud, the choice of those? Is it less or more now?
I don't know if it's less or more now. I'd say, and maybe I'm gonna pivot your question a little bit. I think one of the biggest challenges is connecting all of the technology partners in the space. You do have like the publisher data sets and you have programs in there, but big scale media, there's a lot of data that has to flow through a lot of different places. And that's been the biggest challenge. So you have these huge leaps and bounds, in my opinion, that are happening with technology partners. And then you go to plug and play in areas where you used to be able to plug anything in one of these 300 data companies, right? Not a problem at all. But when you start talking about taking decisioning power and, the algorithms and customizing those, it's really tricky and it's really long and it takes a very long time, which if any of my leadership is here, that's why it's not done yet. It takes a long time.
Got it. No, thanks for the transparency there. So maybe quickly, Shukmei, and then we go to our next question, but from agency perspective, do you get to advise, influence the client's AI choice or cloud infrastructure, or is it something you are kind of, more of informed on it?
Yeah, I mean, we do discuss, like what is the right clean room solutions, or what infrastructure should we use to able to, again, connect all the dots, right? We have so many different silos and war guns out there that we're placing media in. We need to break down those silos and able to feed connections in a way that it makes sense, because again, everyone have different baselines, different metrics, different everything. We need to tie everything together, but not just throw data together in one place, but it needs to have set up a real baseline so that we can really understand what performance is looking as a whole. So that is, as you said, really tough to really get everything together and connect it in the right way.
Got it. All right, so I think we are moving on to our last question right now. So let's start with you, Diana. So things are changing, AI is changing, the media industry and every industry out there. What would be your one or two lines of advice for someone coming either to your team or graduating from a university right now, looking for a career in marketing, or wants to be the next person in your team? What would be your advice to those junior folks right now?
I love that you started with me. Thank you. So I love this question. I'm not afraid of this current generation adopting new technology. They're the ones who have created the media landscape that we have today. So it's more of, on a human level, practice having hard conversations with people, ask questions, have a face-to-face conversation. If you're going back and forth on Slack, pick up the phone. And those are skills, conversation skills, working through difficult concepts, bringing new ideas to life. All of that's going to be more important than ever, especially when so many decisions are being made by AI. So my advice is go be a human, talk to people, develop your skills in that way, and that's always going to be valuable in the business world.
All right, go be a human. Okay, great.
Go be a human for sure. But a human that's assisted with AI, which will make you much better in the marketplace. I would say this. I would say be insatiably curious about marketing, because that curiosity is going to lead to disruption, and the disruptors are going to win in this space. So it's less about go out and develop a product. I wouldn't necessarily say have your mindset there. I would say change your mindset to one of curiosity. And ultimately disruption.
Shukmei.
He probably just stole my line there, because I also agree with, curiosity is going to be your superpower, right? Because even now, if you're just pulling up ChatGPT, you still need to ask the right questions for it to give you the right answers. Stay curious, always question things, ask, why is this happening? Is this look right? Is this the right perspective? Should I think of something else? I mean, that's really how we can transform everything and make sure that we're all heading to the right direction.
And just want to make sure before I get to you, Khara, like in terms of any kind of concern the younger folks have, like you guys kind of, anything you want to talk about, like is there a particular area within technology they should focus on? If I want to give it that to you, the question.
I mean, I think, I think one of those the things is they're going to be maybe overly reliant on AI and not learn like the more traditional ways of doing things, because right now AI is still in its infancy stage, it's still learning. So there's still going to be some fact checking involved, right? Like these guys need to know how to really analyze something on their own based on data that they have in front of them, so that when you get a result from AI, you can double check and is that right? Or maybe I can think of it another way. Because if they don't know how to do that, then they're just going to accept whatever AI gives them. Then that's not going to be efficient.
Great. How about you, Khara?
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think you guys said it better. I'm really big on learning agility. It's something I bring up in every review I have with my team, and it's taking something you learned in one situation, right, and applying it to another, and you're not going to get that if everything is coming out of ChatGPT. And I was thinking about this question over the weekend, and I thought, is there a time when you're on a one-on-one with your boss and you're like asking AI to answer their question, like that's not going to happen, or you have a client or something breaks, right? And how do you deal? But Diana, I don't pick up the phone, so
We're not
don't
gonna
call
call
me. You
Khara.
can text, but don't call me. You have to be able to react and knowing your stuff. So I think just generally what I say is be really nosy, have no pride, find a mentor. You know, I have a lot of younger folks who start in our business, and I give them a list of 10 people they should follow on LinkedIn. You have to be curious and really love it. I hope. Yeah.
Awesome. And now you can give them 3 more people from this panel.
What was that?
I said you can now give them 3 more people from LinkedIn to follow. So great. That's all the time we had today, and we are right on time as well. Again, what an amazing panel, right? Great discussion. So round of applause for them. And if you have any questions after we get off the stage, let us know. But thanks to all of you for this great session, and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.